This podcast is supported in part by Carolina Forward, a nonpartisan organization that advocates for ideas, policies, and values to build a stronger North Carolina, one that works for all its people as a strong, diverse, multiracial democracy. For more on them, visit carolinaforward.org. And welcome to this episode of the Foxfire Dispatch. I'm Liz Purvis, a pragmatic progressive organizer in Granville County, North Carolina.
And I'm Gina Baxter. I'm in local government in Western North Carolina. How's your week been, Liz?
Oh boy. It's been really full and busy, but we knocked 500 doors yesterday, so that was very exciting.
Yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me.
Well, so the Saturday previous to when this episode is going to drop, so there's an organization called C2C Knock, and they used to be two different Orange County based organizations called County to County and Neighbors on Call, and they've like recently merged and come together. But one of the things that they have done is like they bring a ton of canvassers and they support the General Assembly races. So specifically, they've been helping us do deep canvassing to support Brian Kahn and Terrence Everett, and to continue that throughout this year so that we are well prepared for next year. And it's amazing because when they come, they bring like 30 or 40 people. And so we get a really, really critical mass of doors knocked. And this year, they're going to help with the municipal elections too.
Amazing. So Brian and Terrence are your state and house reps. And
Yes, oops.
that's people will know about your Brian and Terrence eventually. But they may not yet.
Everybody should know about my Brian and Terrence. Yeah, so Brian Kahn is in House District 32. Terrence Everett is our state senator for Senate District 18. And both of those districts are all of Granville County. And then the House one is like a little bit of Vance too. And the Senate one is a little bit of Wake plus all of Granville.
Okay.
They've been drawn to be about as difficult as they can be, like so many of our districts here for Democrats in North Carolina. But when the C2C knock people come, like we always know, we're going to have like a good number of people on the doors. We're going to have a good number of conversations. And I'm so stoked that they're putting some of their power towards the municipal elections this year, because it's like, also this week we met with our candidates, or some of our potential Democratic candidates who have filed, and we're going to be hosting some Granville County Democratic Party like meetups with those Democratic candidates to talk about resources. But one of the things we talked about was win numbers, like how many people do you need to vote for you to win your race, right? And in all but one of our municipalities, that win number is under 500.
Amazing. Okay, that's a
So
very doable number.
yeah, I knock on wood. I think it is. I think it's a number that we can plan for and move towards, and I am cautiously optimistic and hopeful for like what's going to come of it, you know?
Did
Um
y'all do the math to figure out win numbers, or did the candidates come in with those?
I did the math.
Did you? Okay.
I historically not good at math and did do the math. It was for me a little bit of an imprecise process, but I looked at like our 2021 and our 2023 voting history on ncsbe.gov, which we have talked about in a couple of episodes, our election dashboard of historical election information. So looking at the who won by what numbers in those years, and looking at like the total number of people that we kind of can anticipate will vote here across the county, kind of led to, you know, plus 10%, because we really want to win and not by 2 votes, right? Like
yes, we have to have bigger margins. Yeah,
right.
so when I started running and like going to candidate trainings, a lot of the first things that were brought up were around win numbers, figuring out your win number. And like everybody that I talked to in like strategy or in any kind of like coordinated training was like immediately asked what my win number was. And I was like, like, I don't know. I need more people to vote for me than anyone else. And they were like, no, ma'am, like we need numbers. So that figuring all that out was like one of the first things that I had done, and wasn't super familiar with the process or the math behind it until I was running. But it can get a little
How did you come?
complex. Hmm?
Yeah. No, how did you come to it when you did yours? Or did you work with somebody else? Like, what was your
So
process?
ours was tricky because it was the first municipal election that we'd had on a general election year in years. So we didn't have data for municipal turnout on a general election year. So we kind of just guesstimated based on the turnout that we see in general elections, the turnout that we see in municipals, what we could distill from like voter data from the most recent years as far as the way people voted in municipal elections, which were still nonpartisan. So hard to tell how likely people would be to vote for progressive candidates in some cases
Mhm.
because local candidates don't always run on platform issues that are easy to group into like progressivism or conservatism. Really, we kind of just like like best guessed it and thought it was probably
Mhm.
around 800, and that's the number that we
Okay.
worked with.
Okay, yeah, so our biggest, well, it's not our biggest municipality, Creedmoor is, but Oxford is like our second biggest and it has the like largest win numbers and it's also the only one where our commissioner win number and our mayoral win number was different by like 100-ish votes. But everything else,
Oh,
the margin was much smaller.
okay.
But in Oxford in particular, like that was one of the things that we noticed looking at like the win numbers for the commissioners versus with the win number for the last mayoral race.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, you learn a
But
lot about voting by deep diving into that kind of stuff. And like voting
yeah,
habits.
yeah, I mean it's like it's wild to me the way that the number of total voters shifts so significantly between midterm years and presidential years and odd number of years to midterm just anyway we've gone down a little rabbit hole of how is my
Immediately.
weekend. How was your weekend?
It was great. It was Dylan's and my anniversary was on Thursday night. So he actually was off work Thursday night, Friday night, and he's off work today. So we're like trying to have some rare weekend time together, which you know, it's hard to get between the schedule that he has as a bartender and the schedule that I have as someone who takes up all their own time by insisting on doing everything. So we're getting to hang out, which is really nice.
Making some intentional time. I
Yeah.
feel like I been also searching for some of that intentional time in our lives over here lately, and
Yeah.
the politics of it all will take up as much as we let it real. All right, dispatchers, let's break down the so called One Big Beautiful Bill you may have heard of, or as many of us have been calling it in my neck of the woods, a big ugly ass bill. It is the enormous omnibus budget slash tax package that our big orange president signed into law on July 4th. It showers the Department of Homeland Security and ICE with tons of cash while yanking away healthcare and food aid and clean energy investments that North Carolinians have honestly fought like hell to win.
Yeah, we don't call it the big beautiful bill in this house because it's neither of those things. Well, it is one of those things. It's big.
It's big,
It's very
but
big. Um Generally, we call these reconciliation bills. We don't always get cutesy nicknames for everything. And this presidency we do for some reason and we all stick to them. But certainly not beautiful for most of us who are going to live with the consequences of what is in this bill.
I know there are some really big buckets in this bill
Mhm.
that are going to impact North Carolinians. What's like really standing out to you in terms of things we're going to lose or things that are going to change because of this legislation passing into law?
So much, but I think that the primary concern that I'm walking away from this vote with is around two things, and it's Medicaid and the Medicaid budget. It was watching Tom Tillis walk away, which this may be a hot take. I don't know how people are feeling about it, but I think that was incredibly brave of him, and I don't say that to absolve him of other things that he has done, but to realize that you are existing in this group of people who are pressuring you and who are, making all of these decisions that you can't abide anymore, and to at some point stand up and say, like, hey, not only am I not okay with this, I will give up my job because that's how not okay with this I am. And I'll signal to the rest of you that you can also walk away with me, knowing that probably nobody else was going to do it. And lo and behold, nobody else did. It's just one of the like fascinating things about North Carolina politics to me, that it tracks to me that that would be a North Carolina senator that would say, hey, this actually isn't what my constituents need or want, and it will negatively impact them. And I know that for a fact because of the language in this bill that will cut Medicaid to poor, rural, low income, marginalized communities in North Carolina. So that is for sure something that's been like huge in mind for me. And then the other is the billions of dollars to ICE, which is just a nightmare. I mean, just a nightmare. What about for you? What's your
I mean, I think honestly the ice ballooning is really, really up there for me. Like, it is mind-boggling that this legislation hands them a budget larger than most countries' militaries, larger than our Marine Corps' entire fucking budget, to an agency that, if anything, in the last 6 months has proven itself irresponsible with the funding that it does have and incapable of acting in accordance with the law. And so the idea that we would just hand them more money and resources feels horrifying. I totally want to go back to this Tom Tillis thing though, because like I'm like 30 or 40% with you in the like courageous to say no, courageous to vote no. But there's a 60 to 70% of me that is like, you know what's fucking courageous? Standing on that opinion hard enough that you get two of your buddies to vote with you. Like on something they are saying that they know better about anyway. So like if you can't it's like the fucking judge in the Allison Riggs Griffin case, who the Republican judge at the on the Court of Appeals, who was like, in his opinion, like this could be bad and perhaps would be, but like I will not do shit about it. But yeah, no, I mean, just I know we've talked about the like this ICE spending in DHS. It is $165 billion, and I feel like we should, it is worth it to name some of these numbers. That means 10,000 new ICE agents. That means 80,000 detention beds, which is just a mind-boggling number. And then also an almost 50 billion slush fund for a wall or something. Um, and it pays for those expenses, all of this money. It pays for this money by slashing Medicaid and SNAP and ACA tax credits and clean energy incentives, um, and by capping the provider taxes the states use to draw down on federal health dollars. And I just like all of those things, like Medicaid, food stamps, tax credits that make healthcare more affordable for people, clean energy that helps us get to a better, cleaner environmental place. Like, just so many good and productive and hopeful things. And no, we're just slashing that shit and pouring it into literally the worst of the worst in terms of like policing bodies in the United States. I mean, right now, at like time of recording, we are a couple days out from when Representative Maxwell Frost and a delegation like went to the um, detention facility in the south of Florida, and everything they're saying about what they saw just seems so completely inhumane and completely like the fact that there is just a real non-zero chance that like somebody is a U.S. citizen in there, like, and it's just wrong to put anybody in those inhumane conditions, regardless of their immigration status, and also it just there is some rank hypocrisy in the fuck ton of money that is being poured into this immigrant detention facility that is so much per person, where and the resources and federal like benefits that are being talked about cutting with this bill are like fractions of those thousands of dollars per person that we're spending on behaving so badly as a nation. I mean, it's wild and I think it's hard to comprehend, but like this is something that I think we collectively share social responsibility for. This is something our government is doing to immigrants within and ostensibly our own people like Mahmoud Khalil, fucking citizen detained for multiple months, like missed the birth of his child. And I just, how are there not riots in the street every day, in the face of such like inhumanity. So this bill is all about the consequences too, right? Like what are the consequences here in North Carolina for this legislation being passed? Whether it's over 650,000 people losing health care because of work requirements and paperwork requirements, whether it's impacts to SNAP and Medicaid, which impact not just hungry kids, but literally everyone for whom money is tight and it matters what your groceries bills are because when people don't have these funds to like spend at the grocery store, it impacts the prices for all of us.
Yep.
There are so many ways this affects us.
Yep. Yeah. I think the marketplace subsidy issue is going to be really easy to feel to so many of us use that. I mean, Dylan was on marketplace insurance until I got onto council. I think I've told you this before, but
Mhm.
when we were like watching the results come in on election night, we like did one toast that was like, "Yay, we won." And then immediately after we were like, "Dylan gets healthcare." Like immediately after that because it's if you have a job where you don't get benefits, it would have cost me $700 to put him on my insurance through my nonprofit job. So obviously we didn't do that because that's half my paycheck. And then his marketplace subsidies were like the way that he afforded to have any health care, and we are not remotely special in that. I think that's a very, very common situation to be in, and I think that'll be felt really tangibly.
Yeah, I mean those subsidies really do make the marketplace insurance affordable. I know I've been on the marketplace a couple different times in North Carolina, and just the before and after having some like pre-existing condition just like changed what I was like what were my available options
Hmm.
so much. And you know without those subsidies it wouldn't have been affordable
Yeah,
to have that healthcare at all,
that's like
like
why it
because
works. That's like the thing of it.
who who can spend another 500, like obviously sometimes you have to, like if it's $500 to have the healthcare it's $500, but like also sometimes you just don't have it, or it's like, well, the bills have to get paid and so and I won't go to the dentist anyway because like even if I have the insurance I don't have the money left over to pay for the procedures, like
Right. And am I wrong in thinking that like if those subsidies lapse, the ACA kind of collapses? I mean, if there are no subsidies, we would all just use private insurance. We wouldn't go through the marketplace. There's no other benefit to being on the marketplace, right?
I mean I guess you would have to be in a place where like with or without the subsidy you're gonna pay for it, you know but it does seem like that there would be plenty of people who would then be priced out effectively by not having those subsidies to even out those costs.
I think that's like the primary tenet of the marketplace model. So, how about
Not
that
good.
Obama backlash?
Also like the number of people who genuinely don't know that they're like state, bear care or Medi-Cal or whatever
Medi-Cal,
is
yeah.
like actually it's like no, that is your ACA health insurance. It just got a fun new name so people would stop losing
Yes.
elections. Like
Yes. Yes. And it worked.
kind of.
Kind of. Yeah. Rural hospitals, that's that's already been a North Carolina issue. I could talk about it all day in Western North Carolina. I know lots of folks in the county directly to the southeast of me in Polk County who travel to the county east of them to Rutherford County or to even to Cleveland County to get pediatric care. We're already in a medical desert a lot of the time in Western North Carolina and in Eastern North Carolina, in rural parts of the state. We already are facing these kinds of decisions because of the way that the medical and hospital systems already work. So compounding that problem is just going to leave more people without access to health care of any kind, emergency, labor and delivery.
Yeah, and I mean, and the thing that I do keep coming back to is like this is not just going to impact folks on Medicaid, folks on Medicare. Like these hospital closure, if the hospital is closed, it doesn't care whether you have that good private insurance that was going to be covered there. The hospital is closed. You can't go. Our friends at Carolina Forward made a graphic a couple of weeks ago that showed a number of the hospitals that could potentially face closure if this bill passed into law. One of them's in Person County,
Mm,
right to the west of me, and I think would effectively like is the hospital in Person County, and so that they would lose entirely. Um, and that puts pressure on the whole ecosystem. It puts pressure like down
yes.
into the city in Durham. It puts pressure over to, the east to our rural hospitals that are already like kind of really frankly struggling in Grandma County. Our healthcare system is like not doing super hot. It's the thing about like people voting against their own self-interest and like not understanding
Yeah.
that it's against their own self-interest. And I have such a hard time with that.
I the messaging is good. That's what I think about that. I think the messaging is effective. And people don't believe it until it happens. I mean,
Then when it happens, it's too late, right? Because there's no quick fix to turn it back on. It's years. It's a slog. It's a fight. It's
yep.
this building is now in disrepair, and we need a new building
And
or
people
a
forget.
complete.
People will forget about this
Hmm.
bill and they'll forget that these are the impacts of this bill and there'll be a new narrative about it. And that's why it's so important for us to keep talking about it and for us to be aware of this stuff when it happens so that 2 years from now, when a rural hospital closes, we can say, this is why it's so important that we don't elect these same people who will vote for this kind of shit again because we can read the text of the bill and tell where it's going to wind up, but not everybody's going to do that. That bill was, what was it, 400 pages? It was huge.
I had heard like a 900 or something
Yeah, maybe
at,
that
at
was
one
it.
point,
Yeah.
but I also, yeah, it's too big for even the everyone except for the most policy wonk of policy wonks to
Mm-hmm.
read, and importantly, like not passed in a time frame that allowed those who voted on it and their staffs ample time to read, determine, have positions, like well thought out positions
Yeah.
on the content of that bill. And that was intentional. That was fully intentional.
Yes.
And that is just so not cool, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's such a problem. And last minute bills and bill changes are super commonplace and they don't allow the people who are voting on them to read them. And you better trust your staff because that's who is reading that. That's who is contextualizing those votes for you. A lot of us are like doing our best to understand and parse the relevant pieces, i.e., ACA, Medicaid, ICE budgets. But like, I've had weeks with it and I haven't gotten through every word of it yet. So I can't imagine the 11th hour as a representative being in a building eating dinner at 3 a.m., trying to whip votes and read this bill. Okay.
Yes.
So, this is why it's so important to remember this when you head to the ballot box for your 2026 midterms, which are coming up. It's only a year and a half away, and we're going to do this all over again. So, remember which people in power supported this tax cut for rich people, which is what this bill is, while folks making less than 50K a year are losing money and access to resources. And if you can vote in the municipals, remember this when you get to the ballot box in the fall of this year and vote for people who most reflect your values and who are going to support policies that make the quality of life that we already exist in better and not worse.
Please do remember that. That is the heavy part. So we're going to take a breath and grab some sweet tea or other drink of choice. And we're going to slide over to the Carolina sound check section to clear the big, ugly funk off of our souls.
Yes, I'll see you over there. Okay. So, Carolina sound check this week is not something that happened in North Carolina. It's also not a woman. We've been trying to center women from North Carolina because we're women from North Carolina and it's important to lift each other up. But I wanted to tell you about Tyler Childers and Long Violent History. Do you know this song?
I don't know that I know the song, but I know the name.
Okay. So, Tyler Childers, during the summer of racial reckoning, right? Black Lives Matter summer, George Floyd released an album with a song called Long Violent History. And he is from the hollers of East Kentucky. He is very white and very Appalachian. And in that song, he talks about the way that we as white folk can understand what's going on for folks who are feeling this outrage around George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and all of the racial injustice and racial violence that we have seen in our lifetimes, before our lifetimes, right? Is to put it in the perspective of how many boys could they haul off the mountain or out of this holler before we would all run into the road armed to the teeth, right? So like put it in the perspective of if it's your own family. Like it's not hard for us as rural and Appalachian Americans to think about how long it would take us to demand answers if it was one of our own boys. And so this song that he wrote was him like begging people to shift their perspective from like these crazy lunatics in the street are overreacting to saying, you know, would it take one? Would you guys do that after one of your kids got hauled off a mountain and was handcuffed in the road? Or would it take two? What if it happened over and over for your entire life? How long would it take us to fucking riot and to get all of our guns out of our gun cabinets, grandpa's old pistol, and get down there and demand justice? So this song was like a huge deal. He is in the liner notes of the album that this is what this is about. And he's like, y'all are not misreading it. You are not taking my song out of context. I am talking about why Black Lives Matter in this song. And I am trying to make it resonate with people who listen to country music and who listen to bluegrass and who are maybe, you know, trying to have a good time and listen to Tyler Childers on a summer night driving around town. And so that song meant a lot to, you know, a lot of folks who are in this like crossover universe, right, of leftism in Appalachia, or, you know, sanity really in Appalachia. um he has never performed it live, and he did for the first time about a month ago in LA during um like
Yeah.
everything that's going on in LA, right? And people being literally hauled off the street out of people's homes. And it's the first time that he's performed it live. And, you know, it didn't make like huge news outlet waves because it's bluegrass and it's our buddy Tyler. And, you know, he only has the platform that he has. But while he was performing it, that poem, First They Came for the Socialists, I Didn't Speak Out, was projected in the background. And so it's this very clear, like, hey, we're in a moment right now, kind of call out. And it's someone that the country music community and Appalachia in general have a lot of respect for. Tyler Childers and his wife are very involved in mutual aid efforts in Kentucky. They do all kinds of flood relief, they do harm reduction. They have like all kinds of fundraising initiatives for the folks in their home communities. And so it was just really touching to see one of our own, you know, go out there and say like, y'all if we can see that this is not okay, like there is something that every single person can do to amplify that we're not going to normalize what's going on in LA right now. And so that choice was just really moving.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay, so this song was called "The Long Violet
It's
Summer."
called Long Violent History.
Violent, Long Violent
Hmm.
History. God, I know I've listened to some Tyler Childers. I couldn't tell you what songs, but I'm definitely gonna go check that out after this.
It's a tough listen. I mean, it is very like it's not an upbeat song, but it's just such a good reminder to me that we can all do some part, right? That like everybody has a role in this resistance and in ensuring that we are clear and firm in our stance. And he did that, and it was just heartwarming to see.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that was like an incredibly like powerful, moving performance too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Cool time to like drop your first live performance of something too. Because, like, everybody's going to be recording it because you never played it live before. So it's just like a badass thing. And I'm always so proud of Appalachia when we show up like that. When we're like,
mhm.
hey, actually, y'all can say whatever you want about us, but rural resistance is the heart of Appalachia. Don't forget it.
Fuck yeah.
Yep.
Um, I would squeeze the song that you've shared reminds me of somebody I think we've talked a little bit about before, maybe offline. This artist that I used to follow since I was in high school. His name is Ron Pope. He's from Marietta,
Yes, you have
Georgia.
told me about him.
So he recently released a song called "Things Jesus Didn't Stay," very much along the lines of like, and all this anti-immigrant shit is what now.
Hmm.
I haven't listened to it enough to like have memorized the words, but it was fully like so good in terms of like turning some church rhetoric in on its head and being like, you really do you think this is how your God would
Yeah.
be? I shared it with my dad and was like, I think you'd like this, and I think you should learn to play it. And he did go play it at a gig that he
Oh my God.
had this week.
Hey. Oh, I love it.
Uh,
I really appreciate
But
that.
yeah, no, music as a social resistance is real and has power.
It's so cool to like, so Bertolt Brecht has he's a playwright who wrote a lot about fascism because of the era that he lived in. And uh he has a play, I can't remember which one it is, but somebody says, "Will there be singing in the dark times?" And he says, "Yes, there will be. There will be singing about the dark times." And I think about that a lot when we see this folk music, like Woody Guthrie, Pete Seeger, Invocation right now, and like Wells music, who's Oliver Tuck, and just people out here with their guitars and fiddles and pianos and whatever, just like keeping a finger on the pulse and being like the soundtrack of what's happening right now is really cool and moving. And it's also a little scary, right? Like it also hammers home to me that we're living in a time that's creating that singing about the dark times. Like it's moving people to make art because it demands an emotional response.
And I think because of the power that we can find in music, oh, in art,
Hmm.
music, painting, poetry, to show, you know, to shine a light on humanity for good or for bad, and like, no, I'm gonna cry. Um,
It's
um,
tough times out here, y'all. We're sad, we're tired, but we're also hopeful.
Amen. But we're also hopeful. And like, I do deeply believe in the make art through it
Yeah.
all.
Yes. Yes. Keep making your art, y'all. Even if you think it sucks, just do it. Just make it.
Yeah.
Hey, that was a lot. Do you want to tell me about something that's keeping you sane this week?
Oh my god, yes.
Okay.
Let me wipe the eyeliner out of the corner of my eyes and tell you all about big thing keeping me sane this week. I want to talk about this podcast that I love that I've been listening to for like 6 or 7 years now, long time. They're called Keep It Weird. They are a podcast for all things mysterious, paranormal, creepy, crazy, weird, spooky, unusual, and everything in between.
Yay.
Um, so basically, girl
Yes,
things.
just girly
Um,
things.
and they have two amazing hosts, Ashley and Lauren. And this year, or like in this kind of season of their podcast, they've been covering a lot of different like alien news and conspiracy theories. And I don't know about you, but I kind of love alien
Yes,
news. What do you
I love
think?
alien news. Yes, so much. Yes.
So I think that is super fun and entertaining. Like I said, I've been listening for years. Their podcast in general is about a lot of like alternative news and spooky things. Like some of their earlier episodes were like some true crime stuff or like ghost hunting on the Queen Mary, which is like a cool haunted ship.
Nice.
And even honestly, their true crime stuff I think is was really respectfully done, even before they kind of decided to like sit that down and not pick that up again. But like even those old episodes are still really really
I
good.
appreciate it's
Um,
easy to get sensational.
yeah, and I think they saw like where true crime was going with podcasts, and they were like, nah, that's not us. We're going a different direction. So they also do like witchy topics like tarot and astrology, and they work with other divination tools like live on their podcast, like pendulums and zener cards. Um, and so anyway, they're cool, they're fun. They drop new episodes every other Friday. They're one of my top must listens. And honestly, they're really such cool people. And one of the reasons that I have a super, super sweet, warm, soft place in my heart right now is that Ashley had reached out and been really positive and encouraging about us starting this podcast and
Actually,
had offered to give us a boost and share about us on their podcast. And they did this past week, and it was so
oh,
nice.
that's really
Um,
sweet. Thanks, y'all.
so that was really really kind of them, and I'm really really excited to talk a little bit about them. They sent us a fun little clip I thought we could sub in to the kind of end outro of this episode. But just super fun girly podcast, but girly for all the girl, all the they thems, she hers, he hims, the girlies, the
Yeah,
non
we the royal
uh
girlies.
the royal
Yeah,
girlies.
you're all girlies. You know,
uh
if you are okay with me calling you girl, you're girly.
Exactly. Exactly. So, anyway, they're really great. That podcast is really great. And if you like witchy, spooky shit, you will like that
Hell
podcast.
yeah. Oh my God, that's amazing. I am so grateful to them. That's so nice. I feel like the girls are just like constantly like who I can't.
I know it's like we lift the lifting each other up thing is really real, and it like
Yes.
honestly it like means so much,
Yes.
like so much.
Yes. It's
Um,
so
yeah.
sweet and the morale boost is just like through the roof. So, thanks friends. We appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Lauren and Ashley.
We're going to close it down this week with a call to action to check your local mutual aid networks for support for Central North Carolina who experienced flash flooding over this past week. All of Chapel Hill, Elon, Mebane, where else am I forgetting?
Parts of
Parts of
Durham got hit.
Durham, the Eno River, and the Haw River both flooded. So all the way through a bunch of central North Carolina is flooded. In Mebane, North Carolina, they are on water restriction indefinitely. And that means that businesses can't operate. That means that people are drinking bottled water. They're working closely in Mebane with Down Home, North Carolina, who are helping them to coordinate water drops. They have a very efficient process. Pull up, they unload your car, say goodbye, and get out of the way for the next person to drop off. And it's super impressive, especially to me post Helene. I mean, they had like a clipboard. They were like, sign in here so we know what zip code you came from. I was like, incredible organizing, you guys. Love to see it. So cool. So if you can get out to Central North Carolina, bring a carload of water with you, bring a case if you're going through. Um, they're, I'm sure, gonna experience some kind of commercial shortage of bottled water soon. So if you have anything to bring, please do it. If you have loved ones out there, check on them. If you have a mission for us to do, send it our way and we'll amplify it. But there has just been so much going on in the news and in the world of natural disasters. The Central Texas flooding has been horrific. So I think that we wanted to amplify this so that our neighbors aren't getting lost in the news cycle, because what they're experiencing is really devastating.
Yeah, and for worse, our General Assembly is not in a place that's going to be able to pick up fast-moving disaster resources to like pick up where FEMA is maybe not doing its best because of the decimation of the federal level. And so it sucks that we are the ones that we've got, but sometimes with community, we are the ones that we've got. And I think it's like really, really cool that you took time and energy out of your week to take water down to Mebane.
Oh yeah, it's man, nothing will like activate my mutual aid brain more than like having one contact on the ground somewhere. Like I have got to be the most annoying person to know after you've been in a natural disaster, because I'm like, what do you need and when do you need it? Like I get so amped on it because it's so easy to be a helper in a concrete way when things feel out of control. Like it's helpful to you if I bring you cases of water, done. Like, and then I get 6 hours on the road to listen to whatever music I want. Like, sign me up for that all day. So I feel like there's all different ways. If that's not realistic for you, you can donate to Triangle Mutual Aid. You can donate to Down Home North Carolina. You don't have to, respond in the way that someone else responds. If you have the means, it's really helpful. And this is why we organize, so that in times like this, there is someone showing up with a card table and a clipboard who's ready to welcome you in when you show up with water. And it just goes to show that those efforts really do count. We saw it for sure all over Western North Carolina, specifically in Asheville. Those networks are hardwired at this point, and it's how people came out of that. So happy to return the favor to Central North Carolina in any way possible.
Cool. And like we're really, if you've been displaced because of this, we really hope that you are, back home in a clean and safe home as soon as possible, but that you have somewhere clean and safe to land in the meantime. And if this week has been hard for you, because it's been hard for a lot of people, right? We hope you get the rest and recovery that you need.
And if it was more manageable, we hope you find yourself with excess energy and resources, and that you'll plug in where you are most needed. If that is the case for you, if you have some extra energy, maybe you give a little extra energy this week. Spread it around. And then, we'll return the favor when things are harder for you.
Yeah. And hopefully then all of our cups will stay filled. So thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Foxfire Dispatch. We put out episodes weekly on Fridays. And if you like our content, you can always find us and follow us at the Foxfire Dispatch on Instagram, YouTube, and Blue Sky, and just at Foxfire Dispatch on TikTok and Twitter, aka the bad place.
Such a bad place. You can also email us at thefoxfiredispatch@gmail.com with your questions, stories, and ideas for bringing about a better South. I love getting emails, y'all. Email us stuff. It's so fun. And until next time, remember, we are the ones that we're waiting for.
What is it that makes us so interested in what we don't understand? We're setting out to investigate everything strange, unusual, and scary in our world.
They're going to be able to scan your brain and upload it to a computer. Some people think of it as like the greatest victory that we could ever have because it makes you immortal in a sense. I think it's terrifying.
It is terrifying. We invite guests who bring their own personal perspectives.
I mean, especially considering the fact that the overwhelming majority of UFO sightings and documentation occurs within miles of nuclear testing facilities.
Yeah. They bring their own encounters with the paranormal.
All of a sudden, I feel this whoosh of wind and this ringing in my ear so loud that makes me stand up straight, And we both had this moment of, maybe we should get out of here.
It was a hot summer day and a hot night, but when I went into this one room, it was freezing. And to this day, it felt like somebody was going to push me down the stairs.
A few months into living at the new house, I was woken up to the lamps being on and the snow globe music box going off.
Hello. And most of all, we just have a ton of fun.
Jacques would never eat, not a single bite, just sip from his glass of wine.
He was a vampire. He was a vampire.
100% a vampire, holy buckets.
My name is Ashley, and this is my co-host Lauren.
Hello, weirdos.
And you are listening to Keep It Weird.